I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Hey, what? What's up, everyone? This is Michael, the entrepreneur from ECG Graphics and Printing, coming back with some more entrepreneurial content. If you are thinking about starting, managing, or growing your business or your side hustle, please consider subscribing to my channel. You can do that by hitting that subscribe button, also banging on that notification bell. I try to drop as much content as possible through my own experience or through conversations that I'm having with other entrepreneurs. I have a podcast where I actually bring in special guests, entrepreneurs that are in my area, that are everywhere, from all walks of life, to just share some knowledge, because we all have something in common, and that is the world of business. No matter what business you have, there's still going to be some structural things and some advice that you can get from other people. And honestly, that led me to this video right now. I just wanted to kind of talk about some things. This past couple weeks, I've really been tied up, not only in the business, but in my 9-to-5. And I'm actually in the process of possibly acquiring a business. So just to give you a quick background on me, I actually own a graphics and printing company, ECG Graphics and Printing, and I've been doing it for a long time as a side hustle. And in this past year, I've really been trying to grow the business, and an opportunity came about, and it's crazy because it's actually the place that I learned how to silk screen. The gentleman that showed me how to do it, he's actually selling his business. So right now we're in the negotiation stage and really trying to figure it out. And that's the reason why I really wanted to do this video, because I'm actually able to share my experience. It's been crazy. It's been difficult. Any of you guys who have gone through this, or I know it's very similar to like purchasing a house. You go see a house, you get involved, you start, literally emotionally living there. And then, some things fall through, or the negotiations or the closing, escrow, like all these different factors start to play a part in your decision, and if you are actually able to get your dream home. And it's kind of the same thing that's happening with this business. But one thing that I've been doing is I've been really exposing myself to things that I did not think I would before. This whole experience for me is new, and that's kind of what led me to having this video. I was really strategic on who I sought my information from. And as I stated in the title, is do not trust yourself. And let's just start there. I've never done anything like this before. I haven't had anyone like close to me, like a family member, actually go out and purchase a business and make an acquisition of this size. So I can't really trust my family because they've never done this before, but then I can't also trust myself. I can't rely on myself, because if I just think about myself and, I take my own advice, then I'm just going to stay where I'm at. I'm not going to be able to grow, because what's comfortable for me is actually staying in my 9-to-5 and keeping my benefits, and it's a consistent check and staying there. So that's the reason why I titled the video the way that I titled it, because especially in the world of business, you're going to be faced with things and decisions that you're going to have to make that you may not be comfortable with. They may not be something that you've done before, and even though you haven't done it, does not mean that it's not the right decision for you and your business and the growth of what you're trying to do. Remember this: what feels right will keep you where you are. And if you're happy where you are, click off this video, you're totally fine. But if you're not happy where you are, so in this video, I'm just gonna be giving a few tips, some things that I learned from my mentor. Like I said earlier, I didn't have anyone in my life like my dad or mom or, anyone that I know where I got to see them purchasing businesses and things like that. So I had to seek a mentor. I have a good friend of mine, Ron Bibb. If you guys have not checked out my podcast, I've actually had an interview with him. He's in the real estate game. He has tons and tons and tons of game on just how to flip money, understanding, business offers and things like that. He actually bought 2 businesses. Both of those businesses, he made huge mistakes, very expensive mistakes. And my goal was to leverage his knowledge, leverage his experiences, so that it allows for me to be one step ahead of the game where I'm not making those same mistakes. So I reached out to him personally, and he just gave me a whole bunch of ideas. I initially found out about the business, went down there, talked to the guy. He gave me his informal offer. And then I talked to my mentor. He gave me a lot of game of how I should approach the situation, how I could do my due diligence, how I should counter if I needed to, based off of the due diligence that I did for the business, what documents I should collect, the letter of intent, which is the number one step that I should do. And I didn't know before getting on the call. So that's something that I learned right away. And then just being able to do that, stepping into the situation and being able to really put my best foot forward. So what I wanted to do in this video is I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned throughout that step. So just in case you're in a similar situation or you're thinking about doing the same thing, then you could do that. And just so you guys know, I have said this in my videos before, but acquiring a business is by far going to be I wouldn't say the easiest, but the best way for you to grow your business, because normally you get assets right away. You get, accounts and things like that. So those are a lot of the things that I was negotiating within this deal, which is the reason why it's taking so long. We're trying to figure out, how we can make it work for both parties. But, this is a really big thing for me. It's a big thing, and it's been in the making for about 2 to 3 weeks right now. And I'm hoping and praying that I actually get the business and I'm able to grow the business like that. It is going to take some money. It's going to take some capital, and it's definitely going to take some work. So if that does happen, you guys will be a part of it. And I'm just excited for that. So the first thing that I want you to think about is it's okay not knowing. And as you grow your business, and I talk about this multiple times on my channel when it's about growing your business, is there's nothing wrong with you not knowing. The biggest thing is knowing what you don't know, so then you know what you need to know. And I talked about this in my video. I'll link it somewhere up in here, where I actually talk about getting a business partner, and business partners are a great offset to that. So it's okay not knowing. It's okay getting out there and seeking the information. Most of the business owners and the entrepreneurs that I've interviewed on my podcast, they've all said the same thing. They didn't jump into business because they knew everything about business. They jumped into it because, number one, they had different motivations. Most of the time, it's just they didn't want to work for someone else, or they had an amazing idea that they thought that they wanted to spend their time on, rather than just working a 9 to 5. And on top of that, it was profitable. So it was easy for them to make that decision. But very seldomly do you see someone wait till they know everything about business in order to start a business. It's normally they just kind of jump right in. So it's okay not knowing everything. The next thing with that is you need to be submissive to the information. And you want to be submissive to the information, but you want to make sure that you have the right source. So for me, in my situation, like I said, I didn't just go to my family members and ask them for their advice, because they're only going to give me their advice. And are they buying businesses? Are they doing things like that? No, they're not. It's important for you to know what information and know the sources in which you're getting your information from and you're getting your knowledge. I suggest you go to a trusted mentor, someone that has been in the game, that understands the business that you're in. I think that's ideally going to be the best source. But then you have to be submissive to that information. Don't be a knucklehead. Don't say, oh, well, I can do it better. And there are going to be times, when it's systems and things like that, where you can justifiably say, I would do it better. But listen to the lessons. Listen to the wisdom. Age is wisdom. Really knowing what not to do. When someone has experience, they just have the experience. They've been in there and they've done it. But if they have the wisdom, that means that they know what not to do. And that's what you're seeking, and that's what you're leveraging through that information. So be submissive to it. First, just know the source, trust the source. Don't get a whole bunch of sources, because you're going to be running around and just, it's going to be crazy for you. But find that source. Once you find that source, be submissive to that information so that you actually can be in a state of learning. And when you're in a state of learning, you're going to be able to grow. The third thing, mistakes. Now, even though, you don't know everything, and then you sought out the information from a mentor, you're still going to make mistakes. It's okay. Embrace it. And the reason why I say that is, if you guys follow me on my Instagram, you'll know that I just recently started trading. It's been a little difficult for me because it is time consuming. Like, I have to make sure that I put the time into it, but that's not, let's get back to what I'm supposed to be talking about. But in that game, in that world of trading, I learned a valuable lesson, literally, where they said, even though you lose trades, because you're going to lose trades, think about it as a lesson. Losers repeat what made them lose. Winners are losers who learned how to win. So they took their losses, because not everyone's going to be a winner all the time. They took their losses, and then they found ways to make themselves win, or put themselves in a situation where they're most likely to win. So I want you to think about that. You're going to make mistakes. I was actually looking at I was wearing a shirt the other day, and when I first got my heat press, I'm very familiar with silk screen and things like that, but the heat press was very new to me. And like lining it up and things like that, it was it's different. So I was actually looking at a shirt that I had on the other day, and it was just off. Like, so it's supposed to be right here in the middle. I had a print, but it was right here. And in my head, it was like, I needed to print. I needed to start. I needed to do that. I needed to experience it for me to actually get better. And I talk about this a lot when you have a side hustle, when you have, little jobs and things like that, when you start out as a small business, because you're able to work out those kinks. Imagine if, I gave 30 shirts crooked like that to a customer. It wouldn't be good. But since I was practicing, I did it on my own. I started. Now, when I get into that business, I'm going to manifest it. I'm going to buy that business, y'all. But when I get into that business, I could take those mistakes and I can grow the business and I learn. And then the goal for me is to be able to train someone to come in and learn from those mistakes as well and build systems that eliminate the chances of human error. That's the goal. So before we move on to the next point, there's a quote that I want you guys to think about. Stumbling blocks are made up of the same material as stepping stones. So remember that when you make your next mistake, it's okay. Grow from it and make the best out of it so you can then continue to progress and get better. The next thing is education leads to success. So there's different ways you can seek education. For me, I'm big on mentorships. Unfortunately, I was unable to just, go to a 4-year college. It wasn't in my cards. I am going back to school. Not saying that if that route for you is what you want, if you went to school, you want to go to college, that's totally fine. But for me, I learned through the streets. I learned through my experiences. I learned through talking to people, and that's just how I learned. But it just depends on you. If you want to go the mentor route, find mentorships, things like that. There's knowledge out there. I'm big on just learning from people, talking to people. My wife says you can go anywhere and you're always talking to someone, because I believe that everyone has story to give. Everyone has game to share. Everyone's experienced something. Everyone has their particular point of view. And oftentimes if you're open, you can do that. So education is important. It doesn't always have to be a formal education. It could be reading books on certain, subjects that are relatable to you and what your path is and what you're trying to do in your life. It's totally up to you. So reading books on your own, it can be through mentorship. It can also be through, actual structured education. So you actually going to school, taking classes. But educate yourself, make yourself better, always be in the state of learning. And you can really never lose when it comes to that. You're always learning, you're always trying to get better, and you're looking at everything as a stepping stone. You're looking at everything as, I can get better, I can get better. So then really pride is what makes a loser a loser. They stay down. And you're not that. You're going to continue to grow. You're going to continue to get better. Number 6 is what I titled this video after, because I think it was the biggest learning thing for me, or just learning idea for me in this whole situation of possibly buying this business. And that's, do not take your own advice. And the reason why I say that, don't take your own advice, is because when you take your own advice, you're only going to stay where you are. If you've never surfed, right? Let's say you're taking up surfing. And every time you hit the water, you get afraid, you get scared. If you trust yourself, you're not going to get on the water. You're not going to do it. But if you listen to someone else, let's say you have someone that's out there surfing with you, because you should never surf alone. But let's say you're out there surfing with someone else and you're like, man, it's okay. The first time you hit the waves, the first few times, it's going to be difficult. But, this is how you get over it. Once you do this, X, Y, and Z, and they give you actionable, tasks and things you can do to help you, then you're going to get there. But it took you thinking outside of yourself and not taking your own advice, because your own advice would have kept you on the shore. But taking someone else's advice that has been there, that understands it, you're more than likely going to reach that goal, because someone has been there. They're giving you the advice and the gems that you need in order to be successful. So it is really difficult. A lot of people don't think this way. And for me, when I was coming into this business, like I said earlier, first thing I did was I talked to my wife and I talked to my family, and they really didn't give me information. Like, most of them were like, no, you shouldn't do it. If you do it, you're leaving your 9 to 5. But I'm looking at them and I'm like, it makes sense, because where you are in life, you're happy with that. You're happy with, working a 9 to 5. You're happy with those things. I'm not. So how can I listen to you when you haven't even done what I want to do? And that's probably a big thing that I learned from that. Like, I can't take my own advice, but also can't take other people's advice that are in the same space. Like, I can't be a real estate owner if I don't have friends and people around me that are real estate owners. I have to change my mentality. And then once I grow, that wisdom grows, and then I'm able to make certain decisions. I'm not saying that managing or growing, whatever you're trying to do, don't listen to anything that you say. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is understand when you do have to kind of take yourself out of it and say, okay, do I need to seek other information? Do I need, mentorships? Do I need to be submissive to certain information that's around me so that I can be better and I can grow? But yeah, when you're trying to make big moves and you're trying to do big things, most of the time, it's in us. We're stopping ourselves from doing a lot of big things. And it's because we're scared. It's because we are trusting ourselves and we are taking our own advice when we 9 times out of 10 do not know what's on the other side, So we have to be okay. We have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. The last thing I want to leave you with is this concept that I was exposed to in the world of trading, but I've been able to apply this in my business and in a lot of different things that's going on. But it's called the circular reasoning. So circular reasoning is when one thing, it's like this repetitive thing. So it's normally 2 different things and they just continue to just go in that circle, right? It's just a continuous, a circular reasoning. So for example, this is something that I'm actually guilty of too. I can't take my business serious because it's not making enough money. So that's why my business is where it was. And then the other reason is I'll take my business more serious when my business makes more money. So you see how those kind of contradict themselves. So at one point in the week, I can't take this business serious. I have to choose other things over it because it's not making enough money. But then later on, I wanted to make more money, but I can't take it serious because it's not making enough money. So what happens is you can change in those 2 different concepts or those 2 different ways of thinking or those thoughts. You can change it to your particular situation. But in most cases, most of you guys can probably relate to the ones that I just gave where, you're not taking your business serious because it's not making enough money. And then you're telling yourself like, oh, I will take these steps. I will take my business serious when it brings in this amount of money. And oftentimes that's not how it works. Like sometimes you have to grind. You have to do certain things and break that circular reasoning so that you actually can dive into it and do what you need to do. So that is something literally that I myself have been guilty of. I've done it and it sucks. It hurts people like us. It hurts our morale, our mentality, because we are the innovators. We're the ones that are going to, create the jobs and create all these different technologies and things like that. Like we as entrepreneurs, we are very important to just the way that life is. We are the bread and butter. We're the supplier of everything that's here, so we need to make sure we're in the right mindset. So I hope that this idea of circular reasoning is something that you can actually think about and check yourself on and break that. So you don't want that to be something that's going on in your head, because that is a horrible place to be. And I swear my bed's right there. And I've had those moments and I've had those nights where I couldn't sleep because I was doing that. I was going around and around and around and I was spinning my wheels on that concept. And I didn't know. And now that I know, I'm aware of it and I'm going to make the necessary changes to change that, so I'm no longer stuck and bound by that mentality. So before we leave, if you found some value and you took some nuggets, you took some type of inspiration, you can apply some of this to your business and your hustle and what's going on in your life, I would greatly appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up, because when you give the video a thumbs up, it lets YouTube know that you guys like my content and it allows for me to continue to make content like this. It's a passion of mine. I enjoy doing it. Also, if you're looking for ways, to grow your business and find out different things about how you can actually break from the mold of a 9-to-5 and start really transitioning yourself into a full-time entrepreneur, please consider subscribing to my channel. Also, drop a comment down below if you have any questions or you have any feedback about the content that I talked about today, or if you want to hear more, there's something that you haven't seen on my channel and you want me to talk about, it's something particular to you in your particular situation, feel free to do that. Also, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to share your hustle, you want to share your journey, you want to be a guest on my podcast, I'm looking for people. You can hit me up on Let's Talk Business with Michael at gmail.com. Hit me up. I would greatly appreciate it. Like I said, I'm looking for people to interview, and I hope that you are the next one. So I'll see you in the next video. There will be a video on the screen that I think you would like. Please check that out. Hustle on.